Good morning, members of the committee and board of libraries. I'm being joined today by the Vice President Drake Wilson, Trustee Betsy Kraft, and Trustee Alexandra Padro, along with a number of loyal supporters, enthusiasts, and library friends.
Look at what happens here today. Look at this turnout. It's raining, our nation is at war, and yet we think this is a priority that not only this committee, but the whole city council should be concerned about.
I'm glad that we do have a large turnout. I really am. I think that really demonstrates where citizens feel that they're going in the wrong direction. I don't think there's any question about that.
We can say categorically that if the council adopts the budget submitted by the mayor for the library, we will have no choice. This time, libraries will close.
The libraries in the District of Columbia represent the fiber of the community. They're in the neighborhoods. They're not a tax-subsidized stadium. They're not a one-time heavyweight prize fight. They're not an annual auto race. There are people who can help others find out about the world. That's what librarians and their assistants do.
I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the council chambers this morning. The mayor announced his budget for the libraries on Monday, March 17th. He has proposed that the library receive $25.2 million in local funding. This amount represents a $534,000 decrease from the library's actual fiscal year 2003 budget. Not too long ago, the mayor and the council asked the libraries to help close the deficit by cutting his budget by over $587,000. A reduction of nearly $600,000 potentially meant closing some branches, reducing hours of operation, and laying off staff. Rather than close some branches, the public library chose to reduce branch operating hours and combine their personnel into one shift. It goes without saying that this reduction in hours also reduced citizen access to library services. As DCPL faces an additional 5% cut to their budget, I'm not convinced that the discussion on how DCPL will manage won't necessarily involve possibly closing some branches and reducing hours of operation even more. That prospect is unacceptable.
The large cuts to the library's capital budget is particularly devastating, not only for its immediate effect on the operations of the library, but also for the long-term effect on the very future of the library system. The DC Public Library has developed a comprehensive master plan to realize the Library Board of Trustees' vision of newly renovated, state-of-the-art libraries for the 21st century. Most of the capital expenditures necessary to begin this important revitalization were eliminated in this last round of budget cuts.
Costs money to libraries. The district, by its funding level for its libraries, demonstrates in a concrete way how it values the education, literacy, and cultural enrichment of its population. If the mayor and the council decide these funding priorities not supported at even a baseline level, and that library buildings will be allowed to deteriorate to the point where they can no longer sustain service and have to be closed, then the library will shrink in size in order not to become ineffective in serving the community.
It is outrageous that the capital city of the richest country in the world has fourth-class library and education facilities. We don't need terrorists to destroy our public infrastructure. We are doing the job ourselves by failing to maintain and replace it while the city hums with luxury private construction.
Here are two cities, the affluent city where the booming K Street construction, etc., contrasted with the part of the city mired in poverty and deprivation. And for the poor of this second city, the libraries furnish essential services. They provide safe havens for children in the district who have working parents. They help children with homework in homework centers. They provide information to immigrants, reading programs for children, and literacy programs for adults.
Let me just say that I'm here because I think all of America at this point looks to the District of Columbia Library, as no library in the country makes more difference in the lives of people who need them desperately. Your story is very, very well known. When I talk about cuts in other cities, we're talking about cuts from funding levels that are twice as high as yours are to begin with. Libraries are education. One of the most distressing things for me personally, I've just recently come from Massachusetts where I was director of the state agency there, is to hear time after time municipal officials, county officials, and other government officials talk about how they're going to hold the line at education. Education will be the last thing to go, and the first thing to go are libraries. You cannot have education without libraries. They receive pennies for dollars that are being invested in education, and the return that they provide on that investment is so significant and so underappreciated that it is a travesty.
We, the students, feel that the library is a precious resource, a treasure trove of kindly librarians and answers to questions we never knew to ask. The library is, and always will be, a place for children to come and discover new things about our world. But nowadays, despite the helpful people and books, libraries are in danger of becoming viciously unpopular. I think that this is because they are understocked, so kids can't see what they want, understaffed, so librarians are frustrated, and because the libraries close at times kids like me need them most, like after school and on Wednesday nights. I predict that this will get worse if the library's budgets are cut, until every library in D.C. will gradually become a ghost town. Then D.C. will be a city of very illiterate children, kids who don't know anything about their lives, and when faced with knowledge, they run away with their hands over their ears. I know the City Council has to face a difficult set of decisions regarding next year's budget, but cutting the funding of our local libraries will hurt everyone and benefit no one. It may save the city money now, but the cost of the budget cut on DC's children will be devastating. So please, when you consider the budget for next year, fund our libraries and save our children and our community's future. Thank you for allowing me to testify as a student and library user.
Well, thank you very much. Very, very impressive. You did an excellent job, and we appreciate your testimony. Now, are you missing school right now?
Yes, but most of the people in my school are advocating for the war on Iraq, so I don't think I'll be missing much.
Okay. Well, you are making good use of your time, and this is part of your civic duty and responsibility as an American citizen.
Yeah, I haven't done much for my country until now, and I really want to change places.
You're doing a lot for your country.
It is my opinion that libraries have an important role to play in addressing the problem of illiteracy. Libraries have earlier contact with children than do schools, poor children, that is. Middle-class parents are literate. They have books, they have their own computers, they send their children before the age of 6 to daycare centers and preschool programs. The only place in which poor children can get similar familiarity with books and computers are in the public library.
To Latinos, the library is not just a place to check out books for the pleasure of reading. The library is a bridge to improve our standard of living. It is a primary resource for those of us learning to speak English. It provides help to those of us in adult school. It may be the only resource for students that need help with the homework, reading, and access to the internet. To Latinos, the library is a bridge to hope and a better life for our families, for ourselves, and for our community.
I was orphaned at age 12. I was raised in a very dysfunctional in-law family, all of them illiterate. The one thing that was bright in my life, I lived about 5 or 6 blocks from a Carnegie Free Library. This is up south of Pittsburgh. My life was the library. I read. Because I read, I did well in school, and even though I had no support at home, I was able to compete with my contemporaries and became a member of the National Honor Society. Not because I was that smart, but because I had a resource, something that taught me, that helped me to learn.
We live in a city where 37% of the people are functionally illiterate. 1 in 10 cannot fill out a job application. They may as well be blind. Imagine what that would look like. 200,000 people, blind, stumbling through the streets, groping hands out as they feel their way, tapping our sidewalks with their white sticks. the functionally illiterate who basically cannot live. And we should close down the libraries?
I was 47 years old before I learned to read at all. I had a carpet business that my wife handled all the paperwork for. At that time I had the business, I couldn't even spell carpet. I went to the Washington Literacy Council. I got a tutor from there, and I met with my tutor faithfully at Martin Luther King Library. I've actually now learned to read, and I'm a little shaky right now, but this is something that needs to be said, and I feel that I am one of the voices that you need to hear it from. It starts good morning, but we know this is over with. So good afternoon, Council Member Chavis, and other council members. The DC Public Library Literacy Resource Division is so important to adults with literacy needs. As an adult learner, I am grateful to have these resources so that I and other adults can continue to improve or improve their reading and writing skills. My point to all of this is I missed the boat once when I was a child. Please do not make me miss this boat again. I'm grateful for you to let me come here and speak. As you can tell, it's sort of complicated. I do a little better when I'm not having to face some people. But we have over a third of our students coming to the library. Without these libraries and without the hours, especially at Martin Luther King's, how could these people get help?
Does our chief executive just not understand what libraries mean to a city? If Mayor Williams, after paying lip service to wanting to reduce the illiteracy rate in the city, believes that we need a dedicated tax to build a baseball stadium at the same time that he refuses to provide a budget sufficient to keep all our branches open and begin substantially renovating or replacing our crumbling library buildings, then our desire for a 21st century library system is a pipe dream. But perhaps the mayor is planning on holding literacy night at the baseball stadium instead of having libraries open when and where families need them. Perhaps Major League Baseball players will sit down with children and help them find the information they need in order to complete their homework assignments. Perhaps children and seniors who do not have computers at home and who do not have homes will go to the baseball stadium to bridge the digital divide. Perhaps job seekers will go to the baseball stadium for the resources they need to find employment. Perhaps the baseball stadium will provide a free meeting space for community gatherings. Maybe Mayor Williams knows something about Major League Baseball that I don't.
The problem is that the library budget has never been seen as a power budget, as other budgets in the district have been seen. The library in its community has been too much Mr. Nice Guy. And Mr. Nice Guy ends up having to take the most cuts because the district people and the government think it's the path of least resistance. Well, I think the turnout is going to show that Mr. So the call for Mayor Williams is, you want to fight, you're going to get it.
We're really talking about where cuts occur, and that should be the discussion should be centered around what level of that. And even though I said something you like, I can't let you have it. We really have to move beyond the framework of trying to fight to hold on to what we've had with the library's budget over the past several years. We focus on the priorities that the citizens feel are important as it relates to libraries. And this committee, this chairman is committed to move the discussion away from holding on to the meager dollars we have, and let's grow the vision to a point where we can't even maybe see or recognize today.